Well, good afternoon from the cottage farmstead. If you remember last year, we built a very tacky yet functional deer fence for our smaller garden that we had in temporarily while we were building our house. We used some 8-foot T-post, we used some streamers, and we used some tomato twine that we wrapped around it at all sorts of angles and zigzags. And it worked great until the biodegradable tomato twine biodegraded. And so it started snapping and falling apart in places, and then deer started to get into our garden in late fall and nibbling on what was left over. So this year we decided to go with something that's not going to biodegrade on us quite so fast. It's probably not going to be our forever deer fence, but we learned some lessons from last year, and we're going to make an even better deer fence for our larger garden this year. So behind me here you can see where our garden was last year and where we have garlic and onions currently planted, along with a whole bunch of volunteer mustard greens. Thankfully, all three of those are not interesting to the deer to nibble on. So when my cousin and his fiance were visiting us a couple weekends ago, they helped Nathan get the T-post that we had there out, roll up our picket fence, and move the T-post into our larger permanent garden location. So a short walk, so just turning around from where our old garden was, is our permanent garden location that we're gonna have here. So you can see the T-posts have been spaced around. We need to move a few of them as we finally determined where we want to at least temporarily have some gates in there. And we bought a few extra 8-foot T-posts. Since this garden is larger, we needed a few more T-posts. So we found this garden netting online on Amazon, and it's 7 feet tall and 100 feet long. I'll link it down below in case you want to get the same one. We ended up needing 2 boxes to get around our much larger garden this year, but all in all, it's gonna be a very affordable deer fence, especially since we're not sure what we want to do permanently for our deer fence. So with using the T-post, using this netting, we're able to put in something inexpensively as we figure out where do we want gates, where do we want maybe a larger door to get in with the tractor. So we're doing this while it's going to be our permanent garden. We're also doing this with being able to modify it in the future in mind.
So this is a Whirly Dig tool.
Whirly dig or whirly gig?
Whirly Gig. As you can see, the tool itself moves independent of the handle. What's nice about that is the way this works. This creates a notch that goes behind the T-post, and you simply put this into both of those hoops and whirl it around, and it tightens it and cinches it up against the T-post to keep whatever fencing, in this case the deer fence, nice and tight to the fence.
Well, we were so close to having enough. We're probably about like 30 or 40 feet short. So we are probably gonna have to end up getting another roll of this netting. Thankfully, like I said earlier, it's not super expensive. We'll just have to get it in a few days to finish our fence, but we have enough of the fence up, I think, to keep most of the deer out, especially if we do something creative over in this corner for a few days. So this mesh netting is pretty difficult to see, but we kind of did that on purpose because we want to still enjoy our view out into our field. But we started over there on that side of the house. We went all the way around our garden, and we ended right here where we're going to have our other gate into our herb garden. So all that we have left is just from that gate up to the house. Last thing that we're going to do today is Farmer Nathan's going to help me put my purple gate in. If you've been with us for a while, you'll recognize these gates. These were in our old herb garden at our old cottage. So we are repurposing them here. Over in the vegetable garden area, we're going to be building some like temporary doors, gates, out of some of the netting and extra wood that we had left over from our chicken coop build. So we'll be putting those in later, but for now we're gonna have the netting there and use these gates to get in and out of our garden. Well, that is it for us today. We're gonna wrap up here with our mostly complete deer fence. I may end up putting a few little flags on some of the posts because it is hard to see the netting and we'd rather not deer run into it in the dark in the night. So we are going to put a couple little neon flags, like kind of like we did last year, just so they're kind of aware that there's something there now. But we will catch you next time.